All right, babies. Excitement, excitement, excitement. What are you looking at? Are we ready? Today's video, refine our personal references and how they shape our world. Well, there's a trick in this note. Refine our personal references and how they shape our world. The trick is in the refining part. Okay, so let's take a step back. What do you mean personal references, man? I don't know. It feels like we always see something and we compare it to something we know. Am I saying the truth or am I a bit off? So what effectively we do, and that's something I do with my conversations normally, is I find a point where both of us could actually like connect. And those are what I think they call personal references. Because if you're meeting somebody and they live basically next to the beach and you live in the mountains, then basically each one of you has a different kind of like, I don't know, living reference. The experience is different. Both of you, for example, are into economics. That's a positive reference for both of us to actually engage with. And from there, when it comes to hobbies, when it comes to interests, when it comes to all these things, people kind of see the world and the things that they do and the things that they're involved in and all that kind of cute stuff. Super cute. And hear me out. Personally, though, we don't really notice how these references are engaging with us, or at the very least, if we do notice, and I think a lot of us do notice, we're not really using that observation to our advantage. And that's why here I say refine, because a lot of things that we have are not really based on who we are right now. They're a reference point that was created at some time. And throughout the years, we've accepted it or added stuff to it. But it's like when somebody's basically, I don't know, I really want to use pottery. Because when it comes to pottery, man, you really get something that's all like bundled up. But the more you actually invest effort in the actual like clay ball, the more shapes and forms you can do. And eventually, even if it's no longer useful, you can kind of like put it in water, bake it, or do something with it, and then reform it and build something else with it. And that kind of works best because when it comes to our reference points, the images that we have in our heads, or the description of them, or the feelings we have towards them, normally are not really like in synchrony with where we are right now or how they could actually benefit us where we are right now. Because maybe we're looking at them in a way that is not necessarily a bad way to look at them, but it's not really a way that supports where we would want to do, what we would want to do, how, where we are going, and all these different kinds of things. So, how do we fucking refine them? So far, I haven't thought about this, but I'm still like trying to explore things with you. The question popped up, and I was like, I don't know how to refine them. But how they shape our world is actually something that's, I mean, I don't know. I would assume that the people that are lived more under the sun and the people that have lived more under the clouds or in rain or snowy areas see the world differently. I think we can agree to that. But that's something huge that I'm using as a point of reference because we've all seen clouds, we've all seen sun, right? And then it's like we all could feel the gloomy days differently, and we feel ourselves differently, and like in sunny days, and all that perkiness and like activity that our mind dives into. But so, like, what about the stuff that are personal to us, right? Our culture, our environment, our village, and all of these always tend to kind of evolve anytime you revisit them, right? Like for me personally, anytime I go back to the village, I always kind of like see it differently. Anytime I go to work, I always see work differently. Anytime I talk to old friends of mine, I always see them differently. And it's not necessarily because they changed, it's mainly because I have. And when I started noticing these things, I started realizing like the things that connect us together, even though they're real and we're still connected, they're not really connected in my head the way the actual connection is between us. Let me explain that. And that's where the refining thing is. Because that a bond between me and a friend establishes a relationship or how we interact with each other. But a couple of years down the line, when we actually revisit this bond, not the relationship, we realize the bond is still there, but since both of us or each of us has changed in a different way, then effectively what happens, the relationship cannot be the same. It has to kind of adapt. And that's where I think we get resistance. And that's where I think we kind of like have that. There's a certain sensation where I'm like, what's going on? Or how is this? How am I feeling this way towards a person? I expected this kind of feeling. I got this feeling. And naturally, with some people, you don't really get to experience anything else because they're awesome the way they are and they don't fucking care. And as much as you changed, when they see you, they bring you back to when you left them. The only thing that changed, as much as you changed, it really doesn't matter because they're still going to look at you the same way and they're going to treat you the same way, or they're going to like enjoy every part of you that's new in the same way. But most of the time, that's not how it goes. Really, most of the time, we have to understand what are the small things that have affected this relationship when the people themselves didn't really affect the relationship. They really were just being themselves. You were being yourself as well. But the references that you actually shared now seem different because each one of you started looking at life differently through your own experiences. And at times like these, they open our eyes because, or at least mine, because then you're looking at whatever it is that's a point of reference, or whatever it is that is something in common between you and them. And if that actually is within your power to kind of like be observed differently, if you can look at that and see it differently, then imagine all the different things it's connected to that will change automatically without you noticing it when the time happens. Right? Because our goal is effective evolution, change, movement, understanding. Like what we are trying to do is really just not enter situations we don't feel good about. And so if something changes and we understand where it changed from, then that core that we just figured out is going to affect everything that is built on top of it. And so refining these preferences, I'm using this example from a relationship standpoint, but we do that every day with almost everything unconsciously. What if we're conscious about it? What if we're able to kind of look at the things that we are interacting with and just consistently, I don't know, check the reference points that we have in our heads towards what we're doing, whether it is an activity, an object, a person, a relationship, a design, a piece of work, anything. If we're able to actually, like, I don't know, apply our own flavor, our own expression on these references as truthfully as we see them at the moment, then effectively all the world and everything that the world has that we can see is always changing with us to a point where even when you meet a friend, if you have actually a point of reference that has changed within you, then the meeting with the friend would be exactly how it always is because you would have adjusted and been comfortable in your expression. And hopefully they would have done the same. I think ideally all we want to do is be harmonious in any situation. And every situation literally has a fuck ton of variables, man. It's just a whole lot of stuff that contribute to why it is the way it is. It looks the way it is to us. And effectively, just one of the things are the triggers in life. And one of these triggers are basically the ones that we design, that we remember, that we sit and look and be like, I'm going to remember this, or I'm going to use this. Or next time I see a building, I'm going to compare it to a building that I grew up in. Or next time I see a relationship, I'm going to compare it to the past relationship I have. Or next time I see two people like running together, I'm going to compare it to the time where I was a kid or when I ran last or when I don't know, whatever. or next time I work out, or next time I like work, or next time I write something or talk to somebody. There's always that element of like, no, I've done this before and I'm doing it now. And if you're doing it now and not really changing your perspective, or the way I'm saying here is like the things that you use as references to take a step forward or to build the concept of the environment that you're trying to build, then at the very least, as you proceed forward, what you do is you literally be the person kind of like tuning your steps. You're no longer relying on the ground or like relying on the strength of your body to handle whatever it is that is going to happen in front of you. You'd literally be as well kind of like fine tuning the steps you take and the observations you make and the conversations you take. Oh, that could have rhymed a lot better. Steps you take, the observations you make, and the conversations at stake. All right. I think that's enough for a video, man. I actually got to think about this a bit heavily. What do you guys think? Is there anyone that made it this far? All right, guys, it's a video.